This is Real Talk with Wendy Darling, and I'm Wendy. So today, I wanted to talk about my relationship with God. And if you have read my channel description, it's probably really confusing to some people. Um, so I was born in 1970 in small town Tennessee. I was raised in a small Christian church. And as a little kid, I really enjoyed church. I really enjoyed church. But as I got older, probably my early teenage years, I started to just not feel it very much. Now, mind you, from the time I was tiny, I don't know how better to say this, but I felt the presence of God. I don't know how to better explain it. I felt the presence of God with me. I have never felt like I'm alone. I see the bigger picture, and that our time here on earth is really, really short. But so, I became a teenager, and I started laying out of church. I would tell my parents that I was going to go work in the nursery, and I didn't. I was laying out. I had a huge lust for life. I always have. And so I didn't have a whole lot of freedom. I was born into a conservative family, military dad who had two daughters. And so, I was locked down somewhat, living out in the middle of nowhere, nothing but forest, which I do not regret at all. Absolutely wouldn't change my upbringing as far as that part goes. I wouldn't. That forest was my playground, and it was an amazing way to grow up. But I feel like looking back, especially, I was really into fashion. I was just in the wrong place. I was in the wrong place for the things I aspired to do, for the things that I felt, for the things that interested me, And so I couldn't wait to get out of this small town. My father and I clashed hard throughout my teenage years. Military guy, I ended up becoming a stripper in 1990. And I'm going to do another video about the story of how that came about, because it's a great story and it just needs to be told. It's a great story. But, I have a lot of people say, who are you to... And I've actually had family members act like, who am I to be bringing up God? Well, even then, on my way to work at these bars, I would pray to God. And there's one particular point in my life I remember specifically. It was a 20-minute drive, and during that 20-minute drive, I would always talk to God the whole way there. And the ending thing was, please let me get in here, make my money, and get out. Now, I know you might be saying, why didn't you work somewhere else? I loved stripping. I never worked in bars that were really nasty. I'm not going to say I was an angel, because I wasn't. But I never worked in places like, the profession of stripping is like anything else. There are good places, there are bad places, the mafia run places were the best. That's where we always got treated the best anyway, from my experience, Maybe somebody else has had some different experiences. I know that whole world is completely different now than it was when I was in it, and I wouldn't want anything to do with it now. But so yeah, during all this, I discovered the Grateful Dead. So I found a lot of people, and I don't mean a lot, I mean a lot. A bunch of people who thought completely differently than what I was being raised around. I was raised around NASCAR and country music, none of which I cared for. Football, and not my thing. I like fashion, I never into it all. I never fit in. So I find the Grateful Dead, and there are all these people that just, hippies that are accepting, they're just open. It completely blew my mind open. And then it went from that to the Rainbow Family, and I'm going to need to do a completely separate video on what the Rainbow Family is. It's the Rainbow Family of Living Light. Look it up. I'm pretty sure I put a playlist on this channel that you can go look at that will help you, because to try and explain what the rainbow family actually even is, there is no short explanation for it. No short explanation for it. But I'll tell you this. You know, the first gathering I ever went to was 1996. I was 26 years old. And it was weird. Even though I'd been to the Grateful Dead, you know, concerts and followed them around some, this was something, this was next level. You walk down a path, just say that you pull up somewhere, you get out of your car and you're really not sure what to expect, but you're in the forest and you know it's going to be camping and, you know, you think music and stuff. Well, you walk down this trail and here comes someone you do not know that says, "Hey, loving you." Kind of weird, you know, feels weird. So first, of course, I didn't say anything back. Walk a little further, and here comes a group of people. "Loving you, welcome home." Okay, that's a little odd. A little different than what you get out here in society, right? So either that is going to totally put you off and you're just going to leave, or it's catchy and you start to get it. You start to really get it, and you can't help but say, "Loving you too." And people just come up and hug you. "Loving you, loving you, loving you back." And it was just amazing and overwhelming to me, given what I'd been raised in, you know. So, of course, I'd found my people. Or so I thought. During all this time, you know, I was kind of exploring into witchcraft and new age type stuff, and while some of it I guess I resonated with, it still just never felt right. There was a time that I read tarot cards, and I'm talking about one time. Of course I messed with them, but there was one time at an event that I read tarot cards, and people were giving me their jewelry, people were crying, people were believing me so intently, but like really believing me, that they were giving me jewelry that meant something to them, that was given to them. And I never really did it again. I never really did it again because that bothered me. It just didn't feel right. So, you know, during that time though, I found quantum physics. I have a point that I'm getting to here. I found quantum physics, which talks a lot about what you think you can make happen. You know, I found lots of great information through all that, and the dark witchcraft stuff never appealed to me. Again, something about that just felt wrong. But there was the white witch thing, and so I could get down with that. It was like the good witch, and I even had a name in Rainbow, through the Rainbow family. It was given to me, the good witch. So let's fast forward to the past 10 years of my life. I'm 55 now. I quit stripping when I was 35. So that seems like another lifetime ago to me. It's 20 years ago, you know. 20 years since I've done it. I don't regret it. I learned a lot. There are things, goodness, that you just can't learn any other way, especially about people. But I don't know. God never left me. And I never left God. I never left God. So, you know, you take all of your life experiences, and we do the best we can in this world to put things together given what we've been dealt or what we've searched out throughout our lives. And I brought up quantum physics specifically because I really don't think that people understand. The Bible talks a lot about what you think, you will become. And I actually looked up some verses on this. And this one is Deuteronomy 30:19. It says, "Today I've given you the choice between life and death, between blessings and curses. Now I call on heaven and earth to witness the choice you make. Oh, that you would choose life so that you and your descendants might live." What does it mean? So whoever wrote this, I'll get down there and give them credit in a minute. Whoever published this, it says, for years this verse haunted me. I didn't believe life, particularly love, joy, peace, etc., were choices. I always thought circumstances played a role. Simply choosing love and joy was too easy, but what if it's true? It is true. Let's go to Romans 12:2. Do not copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. Second Timothy 1, verse 7. God has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity, but of power, of love, and self-discipline. And then there's Exodus 34:7 that says, I lavish unfailing love to 1,000 generations. I forgive iniquity, rebellion, and sin. But I do not excuse the guilty. I lay the sins of the parents upon their children and grandchildren. The entire family is affected, even children in the third and fourth generations. So it's only new agey stuff that you hear about being a generational curse breaker. And you can do that now. You can do that by changing your thinking. There's actually the Lost Book of Thomas that talks a lot about this kind of stuff. You know, our eyes and our brain only conceive so much of what's really actually going on around us. We don't see it all. I mention frequently a movie called What the Bleep Do We Know? And in that movie it shows a shaman, an Indian shaman, standing on the beach. And he's been standing there for days. And somebody comes over to him and goes, what are you doing? You know, what are you looking at? And he points out and he says, those ships. Well, the person looks and you don't see anything at all. He was like, what are you talking about? You're crazy. The shaman explains to him what they look like and says, the ships, they're heading this way. And the guy sees it. Because if you don't know something exists, you don't see it. That's really scary. That's really scary. That's really something to think about, you know? But so who am I to talk about God? I'm one of God's children. So are you. And what you've done doesn't matter to God. It's what you do from this point on that matters to God. You know, I've also said, who knows that I didn't change someone's life during those years working in bars? Who knows that I didn't say the words to somebody that they needed to hear that changed their life forever? Do you think God doesn't want people down in those situations? Of course he does. That's the people that need him the most. So who do you suggest? I think I was pretty fit for it. And somehow I came out of that unscathed. I really did. You know, I know a lot of girls that are now gone and OD'd or you know, were stalked and killed. And I've been really blessed by God. I've been really blessed by God. And I want to share that with everybody. Just because I wear a crystal doesn't mean that I'm... What was it? I got a comment recently. Magical thinking. And this person just kept on and on, though. They were the ones bringing up that type of stuff, not me. And they judged me on wearing a crystal. Let me tell you, there are several verses in the Bible that talk about crystals. Should have had that pre-looked up, but I'm going to type in crystals in the Bible. And this will shock you. Crystals appear in the Bible as symbols of divine glory, purity, and value. Notably in Ezekiel's version of God's throne, like awe-inspiring crystal and the foundations of the New Jerusalem. While the various precious stones jasper, sapphire, topaz, etc., are mentioned for their beauty and as part of religious artifacts, like Aaron's breastplate. That's Exodus 39 if you'd like to look it up. The Bible never assigns them mystical or healing powers, instead warning against pagan practices involving amulets and occultism. Crystals were used as divine majesty and purity, used to describe the heavenly realm like the sea of glass, clear as crystal, before God's throne, or the river of living water, sparkling like crystal. Or in Job 28:18, crystal is listed with other precious stones to show their immense value, comparing wisdom to them. So, step out of your little comfort zones. This is a big world. And just because I have a nose ring, just because, I wear stones, or you want to call me a hippie, that doesn't mean that I'm far left. It doesn't mean that think I'm a witch. And let me tell you, I'm going to say this. The whole witchcraft thing, I'm sorry, it's ridiculous. I think that it's just kind of a rebellion thing. It's kind of it's just something that people maybe need to feel powerful. I'm here to tell you, you can call it a spell, but try a prayer. A prayer, a spell. And if that don't set right with you, it's only because you're wishing bad intentions on people. That's not how that works. Not how it works. You don't control. God controls. That's where faith comes in. That's where faith comes in. The Bible says that Jesus said, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, just that small amount of faith possesses immense potential to achieve what seems impossible, because it's the quality and focus on God, not the quantity, that unlocks potential outcomes and growth rather than needing a large, self-generated faith. Witchcraft might seem like you have control or you're in control. And I do believe that we can manipulate energy, but what kind of karma are you bringing to yourself? It's taken me a long time to learn this. But I'm good at it now. That if I'm wronged or something, I give it to God. And God, I'll tell you what, it may not be on your timing, what you'd like, as soon as you'd like. And I've had instances that I've seen it happen sooner. But you give it to God, because God knows what's good for you. God knows. You are part of God. Okay? And that's good news. That's great for all of us, no matter what you've done. God will accept you. You are one of God's children. Whether you like it or not. You can say you don't believe in God, but it still doesn't change the fact that you are one of God's children. So, I hope that maybe this has given some perspective to someone who's been questioning. There are lots of big questions out here in the world, especially concerning faith. But, I feel like Jesus has gotten a bad rap. People look at Jesus as being some kumbaya, sitting around a fire, peace guy. And yes, he was peace guy, but Jesus was about righteousness. He was a rebel. He was an outlaw. And he was put on a cross for it. So, I'm running low on time here. I'll have to make another one to finish all this. But yeah, if you like my content, please like this video and subscribe to my channel, because I've got loads more to come. And be it day, morning, evening, or night, I hope that you have a wonderful one wherever you are.